Welcome to the Kingdom Minded Mompreneur, where we, Becky
and Monique, your new biz besties, both busy moms just like you.
We're here to talk all things network marketing, mom life, and how to truly live out your calling. We'll be dropping 2 episodes each week to help you, the busy mompreneur, know the exact strategies to build both your business and your home. You'll hear each week from one of the top network marketers on their best tips for what's led to their success and what's working now.
We know that you're here because you are called to something more. You have a desire to succeed in both your business and at home, and we are going to teach you how. If you love what you hear here on the podcast and want to be one of our success stories, join us inside our community, the Kingdom Minded Mompreneur, where we provide a daily social media action plan, additional resources, kingdom coaching, and more. Click the show notes for the link to join. So let's get into the episode.
All right, so we are just going to jump right in. I hope that everyone can hear me okay. If you are watching this, please comment. Let me know that the sound is clear and that you can hear me and that you are excited to learn about the systems behind my success. And so I do feel like the topic sounds a little cocky. Okay. The title of my presentation sounds a little cocky. So please hear my heart and know where I'm coming from, and that I'm not meaning it to be like, look what I have done, la-ti-da, but instead to give you guys a framework for what it really took, in the reality of what it really took, the energy, the consistency, the strategy, and all of the things that went into the success that I had in the industry. So let me just check one more time, see if anyone's commented. Okay, I think, yep. Okay, so you guys are good. You can hear me good. That's awesome. All right. So for those of you that are like, maybe you aren't familiar with my story, you don't know very much about who I am. Maybe you just jumped in because your friend was like, hey, join this thing. And for those of you that maybe are joining later and don't know much about my journey in the industry, I wanted to share just a little bit about my time and the things that I have accomplished in regards to what the majority of you would view as success, and even myself, things that I am so incredibly proud of. So during my time in the industry, I reached the very top of the company in 2 different companies. So I spent the majority, 7.5 years in one company, and then I transitioned. I realized I wanted to do a podcast and coaching and dabble in some other things. And I did some consulting work inside of the field of another company, and I reached the top there as well very quickly. And so I realized I have a passion for, helping people have the same success, duplicate the same success that I had during my time in the industry. So I led a team that was selling about $8 million a year. I received a Founders Award for developing leaders. I ranked number 4 in the entire company 2 years in a row. I also developed multiple leaders who made 6 figures and reached the executive level. And I even had one person reach the senior executive level, which is next to the very top. So in other words, I created a process that was duplicatable, right? Like it wasn't just me having success. I wasn't the only shiny person on my team. A lot of other people were having success as well. And that was what I prided myself on, was the culture that I had developed. I was also the number 1 recruiter in my second company. So a lot of the things that we have included in the Kingdom Minded Mompreneur, like those daily actions, the basis is around recruiting, right? Because the biggest bang for your buck is going to come from building a team and finding those business builders. And so you probably have noticed a lot of the content is focused on, recruiting, right? And it's because I think if we are marketing that part of the business, right, then it's easy to transition. If someone's not interested in that, it's easy to transition to products and parties. And so it's a very intentional process that we have created. I've also earned every incentive trip that was ever offered in the company. So I've been to places like Paris, France, which was super cool, the Bahamas, Mexico, California, lots of different places. So, and then I was even flown by my first company to Canada to present at the conference up there. So that was a lot of fun too. And also where I realized my passion was primarily in the training and education aspect of this industry, right? Developing leaders. And so I want to share with you guys a little bit about what brought me to this place of I really need to get a handle on systems. So I'm just going to give you like a brief summary of what happened during my time in my first company. So I promoted to the executive level after a lot of, consistent compounded effort, right? And at that, prior to promoting, up until July of 2018, I would never say that I was burnt out or overwhelmed or exhausted. I mean, my business was consistent. I loved what I was doing. It was fun. I had an incredible team and we were on track to promote to executive. However, I was pregnant. Okay. So at this point, I had been in the industry for several years and I realized I didn't want to lose everything that I had built up, right? Because if you think about it, in a lot of the corporate settings, if you walk away for a year or two or three, many times you can come back at the exact same title and pay that you had previously been earning. And in the industry, it's not like that, right? It's not like that. And so I had all this anxiety around the pride that I had in what I had built. But I was also like, I'm pregnant and I'm going to have this baby. And I wanted her, obviously, I was so excited. But I was like, I don't want to lose everything that I have built. And so we, in July of 2018, we had Evelyn Rose. So you can see there, Sarah, my oldest, who is now 11, and Evelyn is now 5. This summer she'll be 6. But I knew, right? Like that you hear me talk a lot on social media about this concept of both. Like I knew that I didn't want to lose everything that I had built. And I was proud of it. It also was a sense of stability for me in a place where I knew that I always needed to make my own money. I'm not going to get into that, but I just knew that I had to have that ability. Okay. I needed the ability for flexibility and freedom. And this is what direct sales gave to me. And so when I had Evelyn in July, I was like, oh my goodness, I wasn't getting any sleep, right? Because I was a new mom. I was so tired. I was just overwhelmed by all the things. And it was kind of in that moment that I was like, we are on track to hit executive. And we did. We promoted to an executive team 2 months later after she was born. And so I'm insanely proud of that. But I recognized around that time frame that I could not continue at the same pace I had been going at because I had a newborn. I mean, that would just be ridiculous, right? And I didn't want to be honest, I didn't want to. And I wanted to continue to maintain and then grow as time allowed, meaning the season that I was in, but I didn't want to lose everything I had built. I hope that you guys are understanding me. And so what I realized was that I have got to hone in on systems and I have got to figure out, right? What are the things that are making my business grow, right? Can I automate these things? Can I eliminate these things or delegate, right? Can I send these things to someone else? And like, what are the things that don't really require me, right? Like, what are the things that I could get help with? And so in this season, I really began to realize that time is the only currency we can't make more of. We can't borrow it, we can't buy it, right? We can't get it back, right? And I know all of you guys listening to this, can relate. Maybe you lost a loved one and you're like, I can't, get back. I wish I had one more conversation with my Nana. I wish I had, this much time with this, right? And so you can either learn to manage your time or your time will manage you. And what I mean by that is you can, prioritize and say, these are the things that I know are going to move the needle in my business. And if I show up and do these every day, inevitably I'm going to get to where I want to go. But you have to make those a priority, non-negotiable, right? That's why you guys have a list of IPAs. That's why we provide it, because those are the simple actions they're simple, right? It's easy to do those, but it's also easy not to do those because you feel like it doesn't make a lot of impact, and it does, okay? So I tell people all the time, I was not an overnight success, right? I was the product of consistent efforts, seeing a vision bigger than myself, casting it far and wide so that other people wanted to be a part of it. And it was this consistent daily effort that I continued to show up and do every single day until it became my reality, right? So today, I'm going to give you guys the systems. And if you've been following me on social media, you already know what they are, but we're going to dive deeper into those because I recently did a series of reels on social media, and I talked about the systems behind my success. And that kind of created the framework for what I'm going to share with you guys today. So there are 7 systems. You can take a screenshot of this if you're watching it on Facebook Live, or if you are watching the replay, you can definitely take a screenshot of this. You can also come back to it. So don't feel like you have to be frazzled and take all of the notes, okay? But I'm going to list them off and then we're going to dive into each of these, okay? So the first one is market your business. So there are 7 systems. Number 1, market your business. Number 2, one-to-one connections. Number 3, onboarding. Number 4, support and strategy. Number 5, leadership development. Number 6, multiply the multiplier. And number 7, goal setting and vision casting. Okay, so I want you, I'm going to give a little caveat before I dive into the content. So what I'm about to share with you is the actions and the framework of someone who had been in the industry for, for 7.5 years with one company and then another. So I've been in the industry, I was for almost 10 years. Okay. So I don't want you to listen to this and be like, tomorrow I have to be doing all 7 of these things. Okay. That is not true. And that is not what I did. I didn't just show up and then the next day I was doing all of these things. No. Instead, I want you to focus on looking at this like a funnel, okay? And that you kind of have to go in the order. So marketing your business is something that you're already doing it, hopefully, because you have access to the daily action plan. That literally is the market your business and the one-on-one connections, okay? So you have got to be consistent with these 2 things before you can move on to the rest. All right, so let's jump in. Market your business. So the first thing you have to do is you have to determine what makes you money and how much money you want to make. I remember hearing this when I first joined the industry, and I remember my upline saying to me, how many parties do you want to have? Right? Because that's how, I was in the party space with the first company, and it was like, obviously the amount of parties would dictate how much money you made. And she asked me, like, how many parties do you want to have, right? If on average, your show average is $500 and you're making, $125 or $200, whatever it is, depending on your company, right? It was like, how many do you want to have? And I remember thinking, this chick is crazy. It does not work like that. I can't just be like, I want to have 10 parties and then bam, 10 parties. Well, she very quickly corrected me and trained me in that essentially you are going to have the results that you have are a reflection of what you believe and how you act. And so the first thing you have to do is show up and say, I'm going to have, this many customers every week, or I'm going to have this many parties every week. And once you have this kind of framework for what it is that you want to make consistently every week or every month or whatever it is, right? Based on how you're paid, then it's easy to kind of reverse engineer and say, I need to do this many things, this many customers, this many cycles or whatever, all the companies are different. And so you need to set yourself up for success by setting a very specific goal. The second thing is to list all the places where those leads could and have come from, meaning where did you get your virtual parties, booked from before? Go back, think. Did you have a post on social media that you had a lot of engagement from and you were able to get some bookings from? All right. Did you have a reel that caused people to purchase products, right? Maybe you did a before and after on a reel or even on a post and you had a lot of engagement from that. Be intentional about, studying what is working. And then you're going to develop a plan and strategy to ensure that your actions align with your goals. Okay. I think this is something that many people miss the mark on, and they create the vision board at the beginning of the year. They have all these, dreams and, they meditate, and maybe you even write out your goals every single day and have these positive affirmations. But at the end of the day, if your actions don't align with the version that you desire to be, the life that you desire to have, you're not going to get there, period. So you really have to be intentional about, aligning the actions and saying, if you want to have $1 million team and all you're doing is playing on Canva and creating a virtual party template for the majority of your time, your chances are you're not going to develop leaders. You're not going to have $1 million team, right? I'm not saying those things aren't a priority, but I'm saying be intentional about how you spend your time. And then finally, you're going to assign a task or a time on your calendar every single day, week, and even month to ensure that you are showing up and doing the work. Maybe you need to set an alarm. Maybe you're like, I'm really bad at looking at my calendar or opening my planner until, 3 o'clock and realizing I didn't do X, Y, and Z. Create a routine. Again, this means showing up as the person that you want to become. Now, if you're perfectly content with your life and you don't want to change a single thing, then that's totally fine. I'm not talking to you. But if you are someone who is like, I have big goals, right? I really want to build up to a 6-figure income or a 7-figure income, or you want to use your, the money that you make to start investing in real estate, right? There's a lot of different things that you can do. It doesn't mean you have to be at the top of the company, but it might mean that you are strategic in how you spend your time so that you can make the most bang, get the most out of your compensation plan so that it can be the catalyst for helping you achieve your dreams. And so this might look like batching your work. Okay. So like content creation, maybe scheduling posts in your VIP group once a month. It could be you're writing copy for emails. Like if you do a weekly email out to, all of your customers or hosts, maybe it means, scheduling out virtual parties, events, all of that kind of stuff, right? Instead of flying by the seat of your pants, be strategic. The second thing, one-to-one connections. All right, you guys, I know so many people have given sending messages like a bad rap. But if you are all going to be honest with yourself, the majority of people, all right, unless you just are like the 0.0000001% of the people online and went viral and had people buy all this stuff, right? Unless you're one of those people, a lot of it comes down to connections, because with connections, you are building trust. All right. So think about how many customers. See, you notice I'm starting with a number. Okay. So marketing your business, same thing. How much money do you want to make? One-to-one connections. How many customers, orders, parties, recruits, etc. do you want each week, month, and year? Recognize that connection is key. So the more connections you make, the more customers you have, the more orders you'll get, the more parties, the more recruits. All right. Are you tracking with me? Right? Like the more people you connect with, the greater your chances of getting a conversion. And so I want to share with you guys a light bulb moment that I had when I was in the industry. So I was really just at this place in my business where I had already become a leader. I had a very consistent business. I was making like $1,000 a month. So I mean, I was happy, I was content at that time, but then I started to realize that some of my peers were going a little faster than me, right? And having a little bit more success or making a little bit more money. And I couldn't figure out what it was about them that I didn't have. And I kept thinking like, I'm fun, I'm organized. Like I feel like I talk about the business all the time. But why is it that this person over here is recruiting like 10 people and I'm only recruited one? Like what is in a month, right? And so I, really became a student of the business and I happened to attend. How many of you guys remember the tag team party peeps? Do you guys remember them? I loved their content. I thought they were so fun. They had these like minivan moments. You can go YouTube them after this. They're hilarious. Or they were. They're not in business anymore together, but I had a lot of fun watching their content. It was entertaining, it was relatable, and they did this training about recruiting. And I was like, "Oh, I'm going to sign up." It was a free training. And essentially it was like you need to track your numbers, okay? I'm going to take a drink of water. Give me a second here. It was basically like, you need to track your numbers. And so I was like, it's like every 10 conversations, one person will sign up. So it was something like how to recruit um 2 people before Christmas or something, right? Like it was some like challenge or something. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. So I like printed off their sheet that they had, and it was like 10 slots. Okay. It was like how to recruit one person before Christmas, I think, because I think there were only 10 slots. And by the end of like by Christmas and like by the end of the month, I looked at my paper and realized because you were supposed to talk about the business, have a two-way conversation. And so for every two-way conversation, you were going to write the person's name down. And so at the end of the month, I had 6 names down. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, okay, I'm not the problem, but I am the problem. This is such a relief, right? Like it was like there was nothing wrong with me other than the fact that it was like I was the problem, but I could also fix the problem, I guess I should say. And so it was like I realized it wasn't a matter of, you know, I was saying things wrong or I wasn't doing the right actions or I wasn't, in offering something that other people could have that would be valuable to them too. It wasn't like there was anything wrong with me. It was that I just wasn't talking to enough people. And so in that moment, I realized like, oh my goodness, if I just talk to this many people, I'm going to have someone sign up, right? Like I just wasn't talking to enough people. And so I became very intentional about tracking. Okay. So that's the next thing I list here is to create a tracking system that you will consistently use. So at that time, I printed off every single month a sheet of paper that had 20 slots, and I had a notebook that I would keep it in. And every single month, I filled up all 20 of those slots. And the year that I did that, there was like 1 or 2, I think there were 2 months I did not get all the way to the end. There was 1 month I went a little overboard, like I went more than 20. But at the end of that year, I had recruited 23 people. And that was the most I had ever recruited in a year. And for some of you, you might be like, that's not a lot of people. But for me, it was huge because I realized if I continue to do this and if I increase that number, it'll grow. And it did. The next year I recruited 28. The year after that, I recruited 30 something. And then I went on to recruit 28 in 1 month at one point. And I'm sharing this to say it wasn't an overnight thing, right? It was just a matter of the consistent efforts and being committed to the process. So it might mean that you need to use a Google Sheet, use the notes on your phone, use a notebook, whatever you will consistently use is what you need to use. And also remember the fortunes in the follow-up. And so what I would do is every month or like once a quarter, I would revisit the past list. Okay. So you may be like, I'm not a paper person. You might want to use a Google Sheet or some other form of Trello. goodness, Genie Chat. Nowadays, there's all these apps out there that can help you with this. But at the time, I was using paper. And I would go back through and I would follow up with people that had expressed interest. I would highlight and say, like, these are a hot lead. This is someone I need to, continue to check on. And so it was never out of desperation. It was just to say, like, hey, is now a better time? Like, I know in the past you were interested, but the timing wasn't right. We have this really cool special going on, and you're the exact kind of person that I want to build with. Let me know. What do you think? And because I was doing that and it wasn't out of desperation, then over time, those people would sign up, right? And then, of course, recognize that, yes, it is a numbers game, but people don't want to be seen that way. Okay. So, like, be a human and foster relationships. So that's my little public service announcement that, yes, it is a numbers game. I don't care what someone out there says. If they're like, don't say that, it's not a numbers game. I don't care. Any business that you run, you need to know your numbers, period. Because what is tracked, right, can be improved. If you're not tracking your numbers and you don't know, how many parties you're consistently doing every week, and you don't know how many customers you've had coming in every month, and you don't know how many orders per show, what is tracked can be improved upon. And so if that is hope, though, right? So you need to have some kind of system where you're tracking the input into your business as well as your output. Okay. So onboarding, you guys, get ready. Get ready. Some people are not going to want to hear this. The success of your onboarding will determine the success of your team. That's what it starts with. I know some of you are like, you've been saying for 2 years you're going to develop an onboarding system. And I'm willing to bet you're in the exact same place that you were 2 years ago. Or you developed one and you're not consistent with it. Or you developed one and it's maybe not been updated, and maybe it's overwhelming. Maybe it's too intense, right? And people are like, oh, I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore because they're like overwhelmed. Okay. Let's talk about it. The support that you offer is obviously going to depend on the size of your team. All right. So I don't want you to think, if you're listening to this, that if you have a small team, you need to go out and develop this massive onboarding automated process, because you are probably not at that place where that is needed or where you should be investing your time. But maybe you are feeling overwhelmed and you have people on your team recruiting, and you're like, I don't have time to get on the phone with not only my own people, but their people. And I need something in place. And so I want to just give you permission to evaluate before diving too far and going too overboard on the onboarding. I want you to just think about, what is it that your team needs, right? Like, what is it that your team needs to be successful? If you only have, 10 to 20 people on your team, you may not need a super intense onboarding. But if you have, 50 people, you need to start thinking about, okay, I really need to come up with some kind of system, because if you want that team to continue to grow and double, right, then you really need to be intentional. And what I mean by that is, if you have a smaller team, smaller team means that you might have a more hands-on approach, meaning there might be one-on-one calls. There might be more of an individualized, like maybe you have a list, you have a checklist you give to them, you have a framework of what you want them to do, but you're kind of going through the checklist with them and holding them a little bit more accountable because you're able to. You don't have this massive team that you're trying to keep up with. Okay. And if you have a bigger team, you might need to consider something more automated and systemized. Now, I don't want you to completely alleviate yourself from this process, because I have seen this was my own experience. I have seen where my new consultants and new team members did not perform as well when I took my hands off. When I just let all the automation do its thing, there wasn't as much of an increase in their success. It was kind of like they maybe hit the first goal or two and then they fell off, or they just maintained. All right. And so there is a lot of power in that one-on-one accountability and connection and leadership. Okay. So, but as your team grows, so will your responsibilities. And so you're not going to be able to hold every single person's hand, and you're going to forget who you told what to, right? And so that's why I think there's a lot of power in leveraging things like, so some things to consider is to leverage things like project broadcast, right? Maybe so that you can automate a checklist. You might even record small videos of yourself so that you're kind of they're still hearing from you, right? But then as you're sending it through project broadcast, or even if you're just texting it to them yourself or messaging it on Facebook or whatever, right? Or even if you have a 15-day checklist and there are videos on each day with instructions, they're still hearing from you. So there is this sense of connection, right? There's a lot of power in video. Let's see, what else? You might also consider providing, some kind of either social media for the first like 15 days to kind of help them get off the ground and have the confidence to share their new business, as well as something that I did, you guys, for years. I mean, probably for about, I would say 4 years, 3 years, when virtual parties came onto the scene and like social media. I would create a virtual party template every single month, and I shared it with my entire organization. I know, that's crazy. I know some of you are listening to this and you're like, what? Okay, well, eventually it went to every other month, because I was like, this is so hard to do, but I enjoyed that aspect. I enjoyed the creation and I was good at it. And a lot of people out there didn't know how to do all the things that I knew how to do. And I knew, right, that if I help other people on my team have success by sharing the things that I know I'm going to do anyway, then the chances of my paycheck going up were drastically increased, because I was giving them the tools, exactly what to do in order to make money, right? And so whatever you decide to do, all right, keep it simple and duplicatable. All right? Because if someone comes onto your team and they are, they have success, like they have a quick win, they make money in the first week, literally in the first week, if they are making money, they are more likely to stay. I don't know the statistics. I should have looked it up beforehand, but if someone is making money in the first couple of days, in the first week that they are on your team, they are more likely to stick around, and they're more likely to recruit. They're more likely to bring people on the journey because they have gone through the process with you. They're like, wow, I don't have to tell someone else what to do. She has all of it mapped out, right? And so just keep it simple. Don't overthink it, okay? And if you're like, I don't even know what I would tell somebody to do, you can partner with another leader, okay, and ask them for some feedback. You can also literally just sit down and say, okay, what makes me money? Okay, how do I get the customers and the team, how do I get the thing to give me this paycheck? And just go literally reverse engineer. If you're trying to help somebody make $500, okay, what does that look like? And while it might be kind of daunting, this whole like thing that you have to do, you're like, oh my goodness, this is going to be so frustrating. It will be worth it. Trust me. You need to do this. If you are serious about growing and you're serious about leadership and you're serious about, promoting other leaders, this needs to be a priority. All right. Number 4, support and strategy. All right, guys. Some people are probably like, what does this even mean? What does this even mean? So, have you ever sat with the fact that when you get someone to sign up and join your team, you have to continue to market to them, right? They're not just going to all of a sudden know what to do and all of a sudden show up. I like to think that this industry brought out the very best parts of me, but not because I just naturally became this, leader and disciplined person. No, it was because I was trained and equipped, and I had people that had gone before me that I could observe, but also it was strategic. It was like, hey, here's this framework, here's how to show up. But in order to do that, I had to hear from this leader, right? Like, I mean, life gets busy and hectic, and the reality is not everyone is really disciplined, right? And sometimes we just get distracted and we forget our goals, or we forget why we're doing something in the first place. And so you really need to think through, how are you going to support the different types of team members? And so if you're someone who's listening to this and you're like, I'm already marketing my business, I'm doing my one-on-one connections, I've got a solid onboarding system, but people come onto my team, they hit that first mile marker, and then they disappear. You might want to evaluate, what does it look like for them to be supported on your team? And so, this concept of the different types of team members has been phrased a million different ways, but I'm going to share it with you through the lens of, this is exactly how I saw my team. There are 3 types of team members. There are performers, there are helpers, and there are fans. What does that mean? Well, let me backtrack. Hold on. So the performers, right? That's pretty obvious. They're the people that are, they want to be number one, right? They want to be the number one recruiter. They are, maybe they're just really consistent. They're continuing to grow. They're reaching every single mile marker in the onboarding process and earning every incentive that's offered. They show up to every call. They are just the ones. And I would also group your newer people in this category, because they're the people that need a lot of attention. Okay. Your helpers are the people that they help, meaning they are not going to be the one that's like number 1 or number 2 on the sales board, but they contribute to the team sales and growth every single month, right? They're consistent. It's kind of the people that you can count on, right? It's like, they're always going to be there. They show up to team calls. They're probably not trying to like promote. Maybe they are, but their actions may not align with their goals, right? But they're still there. They're hanging in there. They're showing up. You could probably think of people on your team right now. You're like, oh, this is the person. And then you have your fans. If you think about someone who's a fan of something, they want to show up to every single thing, right? They want the t-shirt, they want the whatever. They don't mind spending the money. Like, I don't know how many of you guys are like, maybe if you're a Taylor Swift fan. I like Taylor Swift, okay, but I wouldn't call myself a Swiftie, right? Those of you that are Taylor Swift fans, you're like, you probably have a t-shirt. You may have gone to the concert. You've already watched on Disney the Eras tour. You've watched everything. You're a diehard fan. You love it so much, and you don't mind spending the money because that's how much you love it, right? These are your people who, they just like to be a part of something. They love being on your team. They're a fan of you. They want to invest in the company and in you. They love, maybe the products, they love how it has made them feel, but they're honestly not trying to build a business. They're there because they love the products, they love the people, they love the community, and they love the company, right? That is why they're there. So your performers should get a lot of individual and small group attention. So this is going to look like calls, phone calls. Pick up your phone or FaceTime, okay? Or, there's like walkie-talkie type apps like Marco Polo, or there's even other apps. I can't think of them. My hairdresser told me about it recently. You guys can put it in the chat if you know what I'm talking about. But where you can like get on FaceTime, it's kind of like Zoom, where everyone can like call. It's like you call in and get on. And she said, like, literally with her friends from college, or maybe it's from high school. I don't know, like some of her friends, there's like a group of girls that will just get on and talk while they're getting ready in the morning. Okay. So like, there's a lot of different options for how you can communicate with people, even just texting, right? Sending out a text message, asking, holding them accountable. or small group attention where you kind of put people who have similar goals and they're all working to promote or hit a sales goal or earn a trip or whatever it is. You kind of put them in a little container together, and then you do some coaching through the lens of an accountability group. I did this a lot. All right. Helpers, I've already mentioned this, they support the team. So they do still need a little extra love. They want to feel connected and committed, and they want to be recognized for how they're contributing. And so don't overlook these people, because I heard this phrase before, a lot of a little is a lot. So do not ignore these people, because just imagine if you have one performer on your team, and yes, they take up the majority of the team sales every single month, and they're like the shiny object. What's going to happen if that person decides they want to do something different or they don't want to do it anymore and walk away? If you have been giving attention to these people over here, very often one or two will rise up and become the next performer. Or in general, they're going to stick around because they've continued to feel committed and connected to the team goal, right? They've just had this consistent effort. And so they're still there. And so instead of relying on just one person or two people that are like the shiny object, yes, we want to love on those people and give them the support and attention and recognition, all the things. But don't overlook this group right here. Don't overlook the helpers. Those people that are showing up every single month, right? And who knows? You never know when one of these people may rise up, like I said, and become your next unicorn or diamond. And then your fans, as I mentioned, they're the people who really only want the discount and love being a part of the team. And so I'm sharing this with you because I want you to think through the lens of make sure you're giving some touch points to every single one of these people. So what does that look like? So the performers, like I said, overall, right? We have the performers, the helpers, and the fans. So everyone is going to have access to like a monthly team meeting, or maybe you do a Monday mindset call, or motivational Monday, or tip Tuesday, whatever it is, right? You have some kind of support where they get access to you. I also always went live on the first of every single month, no matter what, for years on my team page. And I did this to share, what was new, right? Any announcements that had just been revealed. I would share the strategy, maybe incentives and fun things that were available to them. And then if I was running a team challenge, I would tell them about it and how excited I was. If we were working towards a team goal, or if someone on our team was working to promote to a new level, I would shout them out and say, let's make sure we're cheering them on all month long, right? And this created this sense of connection and commitment to the goal. Everyone was committed because they saw me show up at the very beginning of the month, right? And not at the end of the month being like, hey guys, I need everyone to submit an order. We're this close. Okay. Because at the end of the month, you make it about you. But if you are showing up at the beginning of the month and you have a strategy of a timeline, what the entire month is going to look like, then, hold on. It says my microphone has been changed. Has my microphone been changed? I'm like, wait a minute. I want it to be on. Yeah, it says it's still good. Okay, so I guess you guys can still hear me. Let me know if you can't for any reason. I'm like, wait just a minute. Okay, you can still hear me. Thank you. It's like, I just saw something pop up and I was like, what happened? Anyway, so I would always go live at the beginning of the month. And then, of course, I would have a important dates and announcements post, kind of like what we do in our Kingdom-Minded Mompreneur, saying like, hey, here's all the important things coming up and places and times that you can, invest in yourself and learn and become better. So it might have like a bookings training or a social media training or whatever, right? I always wanted to give them a heads up and say like, mark these dates, okay? And then, so that was for everyone, right? And then I would usually have, like I said, some kind of mastermind ongoing thing where I would do this big like opportunity call for the team and really market the career plan. And then I would open up the doors to the next mastermind. And so it might be called like 6 weeks to success, or director bound, or business boot camp, or whatever. You could name it whatever you want to name it. But I would always share what was available to them and get people really excited and buy in. And anyone could anyone could commit to this. But usually the people that signed up were the helpers and the performers, right? The fans were just like, yay, good job, team. But they didn't sign up for it, and that's okay. But I still wanted to keep it in front of them. I also implemented Project Broadcast for my personal team and for my leadership team. I realized very quickly that as my team grew, I wanted to make sure my personal team was hearing from me. But I had about 50 or so people on my personal team and, 1,500 in my organization. And so every single month, at the very first or second day of the month, I would send out a text message to everyone on my personal team, sharing about, what's new, sharing the, monthly promotion or something that they can earn for the month, and maybe an exciting announcement or two, and maybe a tip. And then I would always have a call to action, like, head to our team page to find out more, watch my live video or whatever. Or I would say like, send me a message if you want more accountability and you want to earn blank or something, right? And so this was my way to touch base with everyone at the beginning of the month. And that way, if they wanted to take advantage of these resources that I was offering, no one could look back and say, well, she did not, say this to me. Not that it is your job. Like, the success of others is not dependent on you. But if they have success, a lot of it or a lot of their success can be a reflection of you, right? It can be a reflection of how you supported them. So just want to encourage you to think through these things as you're mapping out the way you show up and support your team. Okay, number 5. I'm like, oh my goodness, you guys, I've been talking for so long. It's just so much content to cover. I probably could talk about each one of these individually because it is so much good stuff. And I hope that it's valuable for you guys. I hope that you're taking lots of notes. I hope that you're finding maybe even within each system and piece of content. I hope that you're finding something that you're like, ooh, I want to do that, right? I hope it's helpful. So leadership development. This is something that I am so passionate about. As you heard at the very beginning, I was number 4 in the entire company. Oh, it was like a gnat or something. So y'all just ignore me over here. I was number 4 in the entire company 2 years in a row. And the people ahead of me were only ahead of me by like 1 or 2 points every year. So I was very close to being number 2 and number 3. And I just love this conversation because really, truly, I believe there's a lot of power in kind of setting your goals aside and focusing on helping other people. Because the minute that my priorities changed and I began to become obsessed about my title and obsessed about my paycheck, then versus when I was just so obsessed with like helping other people experience the things that I had experienced, right? And when I kind of shifted my focus, it became harder and it was stressful and it was uncomfortable and it was frustrating, right? I was pushing people away. I was getting mad at myself. I was gaining weight versus when I was so focused on showing people what is possible and helping them achieve it, right? That is when my income was going up. That is when I was promoting. That is when I was more at peace because I was not as obsessed with, my own, my own accolades, my own whatever. And the reality is, I think we're all human. We all probably have a certain thing we might struggle with. And for me, I loved, right, I loved to be number 1. I love to be at the top and the recognition and stuff. But ultimately, what got me there was me investing in other people. So don't take your eye off the prize, and that the ultimate prize is helping other people have what you have. And so you might be the number 1 recruiter, the number 1 seller, all of these things. But all of that, I'm just going to be honest, is irrelevant if you cannot duplicate the process. If you can't help other people do what you have done, right, then you're eventually going to burn out. You're going to be exhausted. You're going to be frustrated. And you might even be like, I'm done and want to do something else. And I don't want you to get to that place. So really focus on creating a picture and like a vision so clear that other people on your team want to be a part of it because they can see it, right? They can visually see and feel, and they want to help you, right? They want to help you build it. And so when you have a vision and you cast it far and wide, meaning you are consistently talking about it, you're showing up to every team call, sharing about how this business has changed your life and why you want to help other people experience the same thing and where you're going as a team. People like that. They want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And so how can you create this culture of growth? So there's really three things that you need to do in order to have this community of, like improvement. Like everyone wants to continue to show up as a better version of themselves because you've raised the bar. You've raised the standard for what is required to be on your team. But you can only do that. You can only create this culture of growth and improvement when you do these three things. So the first thing is to create desire. So, this means like posting on your team page every time you're with your team. Like, we had so much fun together, right? The community aspect. Posting every time you've earned something or other people on your team have earned. Like if you send happy mail to people, stick a post-it note in there or in your note and say, be like, P.S. Post a selfie of you with this, with your happy mail on the team page so that others can cheer you on and, want to earn it next month too or something, right? So you can literally encourage the behavior, encourage what you want people to do. All right. And so this also means when you create desire, you're posting about what people can earn. You're posting about throughout the month, even like, hey, here's how to increase your percentage of your paycheck this month. Here are 3 ideas. Maybe even like encouraging people to look at their numbers the last couple of days of the month, doing a post about that. I would always say like, how far away are you from the next commission level or something, depending on what your company. And I had a post, I scheduled it every single month. And with that, literally every single month, people would be like, oh, I didn't realize I'm only $50 away. And then they would get another order or two, maybe bumping them up $200 more. You also need to create opportunity, meaning you need to offer training. You need to offer accountability. You need to have, even if it's just a one-on-one, once a week, 15 minutes on Zoom. Okay. It doesn't have to take up all of your time. You don't have to have some massive training program mapped out. It could also be that you partner with another leader and you guys come up with a 4 weeks to whatever, right? A 4-week training business boot camp. And it could be that your opportunity, by creating opportunity for them to grow, you are doing an opportunity event, a virtual look and learn, or where people learn about the business. And so because you run it, I literally did this for my team, you guys, for 2 years in a row. I did it the first Thursday and the third Thursday of every single month for 2 to 3 years. And then eventually I kind of delegated and I had more people step up with opportunity events. I was consistently doing this. It was just part of our culture that, hey, Becky's leading this opportunity event. Get your people there, because I was so passionate and excited to share the business with others. And they knew that if they could just get their people to listen to me, they were more likely to sign up. Right. And so I showed up and did that over and over and over. I gave them an opportunity to make recruiting just part of what we did. It was just part of our culture. And then recognize and reward what you want repeated. People do not get recognized at home. They do not get recognized even at work for their efforts. And so if you want someone to continue to do something, you need to recognize them. You need to reward them. And so I'm not saying to go as far as to like send happy mail to anyone who submits an order, but think about the behavior you want repeated. And that's how you need to recognize. Maybe it's just a social media post, shouting them out for their sales, shouting them out for their first team member, for being a team player. There's a lot of things that you can recognize, but just remember that needs to be a priority. So multiply the multiplier. We got 2 more to go. You guys, if you're still hanging on with me, then I just want to say thank you, because I know this is a lot of content. It's a lot. But it's good stuff, okay? I know this is good stuff because this is what I did. And it took me years to learn a lot of this stuff, and I'm giving it to you today as a result of you being in our community, you guys. $47 a month. This this information took me years to learn. So just look at it like that, and you're getting it all. And I was trying to keep it in an hour, but it's probably going to end up being an hour and 15, 20 minutes. So just hang on. And if you need to come back to it, that's fine too. Multiply the multiplier. So as I mentioned before, I developed multiple six-figure earners. I had, at one point in time, I had two executives, one senior executive in my organization. They were all first gen to me. And I had one who she was so close to executive, like month after month after month. So she had the people, but they just did not always hit, they didn't always qualify. So I had 4 leaders in my time. I would say within, let's see, I developed them, helped them get to executive within about, it was like a 3-year span, 2 to 3 year span. I had one that got there in 18 months. And so I'm proud of that because I was able to duplicate my process. I was able to help other people achieve the things that I had achieved, right? I wasn't just some like special person. I was proof that anyone could come into this space and have success. And I wanted other people to experience it. And because of that, I was able to multiply myself, right? And that is where the paycheck exploded for me. That is the year that I had a $40,000 a month paycheck. That is the year that my team was recruiting hundreds of people in a month. I mean, it was just insane because I had created this team of people that saw what I saw, right? And that's what we're all after, is to help people see the same vision that we have for the future. And so really the reality is, if you can find a few incredible people to build with you, not only can you go further, but you can go faster and you can have a ton of fun in the process, right? Some of you guys probably are like, yes, I love this person on my team, right? And maybe it's just fun, right? I think that's one of the reasons why so many women, especially women, yes, there are men out there, but especially women love this industry, is because the community and the relationships and the connection to something greater is embedded in the framework and the foundation of everything that you're trying to build, right? And so it's just a really powerful place to be when you have found people that align with your values, but also, they want to make money too, right? They want to change the world too. And it's fun to do life with those people. And so just be really intentional about looking for people with the qualities that you admire. And so many of you guys know, if you went through our Multiply program, we do have a course that is on autopilot. So if you are like, I really want access to this, if you're not one of our Multiply clients and you are interested in it, we do have the option for you to purchase that. You can message me or just say something below. Be like, I want the link or whatever. So we can send it to you. But this is really the foundation of, recruiting, is that, yes, it's great if you can recruit a ton of people really quickly, but ultimately, they might not be anything more than warm bodies, right? And if you are able to bring all these people onto your team and none of them are selling, none of them are recruiting, then it's kind of a waste of your time. You might get a monetary value or bonus or something, right? Or recognition for doing it, but you're going to be back in the exact same place the next month or, 90 days later when all of those people are gone. Versus if you find people very intentionally who have similar values to you, who you admire because they are maybe a go-getter, they're driven, maybe they're someone with integrity, they're a lot of fun, all of these qualities that you admire, and they join you, it's more likely that you're going to have greater success when you're partnered with people who are building with you, right? That's just the nature of this industry. And so I also want to encourage you to think through the lens that you need to become these qualities, because when, like attracts like. So when you are, someone who operates out of integrity, someone who is disciplined, someone who is fun, right? Someone who is a driven, go-getter kind of personality, people are drawn to that. So driven people are going to want to be a part of what you're building because they're going to admire you. And so it's literally just the laws of attraction, right? And that whatever you become, you will attract. So I just really want you to take that to heart and ask yourself, are you embodying the qualities in what the type of person that you want to recruit? Right? Are you following through on your actions every single day? Are you consistent? Are you performing at the level that you want someone to perform at? If not, you might need to evaluate. And then obviously accountability. So having solid systems and also giving those people the freedom to grow. That was one of the things that I recognized in myself initially when I started to develop leaders was like, I wanted to be the head honcho. It was obviously a control thing or whatever, right? But it was like I knew what I was doing was working. And I was like, hey, people need to listen to what I have to say, blah, blah, blah. But the minute I was like, if I had a couple of people, the people who promoted to executive that said, hey, can I do this over here? Right? I always encourage them if they want to take ownership of their team, they need to start their own team page, come up with a team name, right? I mean, literally, I encourage them. I kind of pushed them out of the nest and I was like, hey, look, you can still be a part of this thing, this team page over here. Any training that I offer to the org is available to you and your team, but you are the one that you are the reason they came to this company, to this organization. You are the reason why they work their business. And so because of that, they need to hear from you. They need to view you as the leader. And so give them the freedom to grow into that. Don't expect them to just, master it overnight, but instead, the people, like I said, that went on to become executives, they took ownership. They were, they had their own team challenges, their own stuff. And yes, people would contribute and participate and be a part of the whole, but there was this recognition that like Becky's not the only one. And because of that, right? Literally, it was like leader after leader after leader was popping off and developing, and my paycheck continued to grow. It just did as a result. And so I just want to encourage you to give people the freedom to do things their way, but hold them accountable, right? And have good systems that they can either take and run with on their own or duplicate so that they feel confident stepping into that leadership role themselves. Finally, goal setting and vision casting. I love goal setting, right? Who doesn't love a vision board? It's like at the beginning of the year, that's always one of my favorite practices is to sit down and to write out all the dreams and goals and things that I want for my life. And if you didn't do that, or maybe if you did and you want to reevaluate, I would encourage you to do that now. It's never too late to dream. It's never too late to set a goal or to create the vision that you have for your life. And because really goal setting is the decision to turn your dreams into a reality. Because if you have a dream, you might say like, oh, I would love someday to, own a farm or whatever. But you never set any strategic and specific goals that align to that dream, it will never happen, right? And so if you want something to become your reality, you have to map it out. You have to plan it out. And that is what goal setting does. Because success doesn't happen on accident, guys. It doesn't happen on accident. Yes, there might be, as I mentioned before, the one person is like 0.0001 percentage of people that come into this industry, happen to go viral, and then all of a sudden they're at the top. But that is rare, and it is unlikely to sustain or be duplicated. Meaning they may have that success. Some of you get so frustrated because you're like, I don't understand. I'm still in the same place and this, that, and the other. But also look back on all that you have accomplished and the consistency of it. There is a very low percentage of people that even make money in this industry. And it's not because it's not available to them. It's because they're not willing to put in the work to get the return. And so it's not an accident that you are successful. It is not an accident that you are consistently making money, that you are recruiting. It is not an accident. It is a result of the effort that you are consistently putting in. Okay. And so in order to grow beyond where you are now, I want you to sit with this question of like, what is it that I want to do? Who do I want to be? And what do I want to have? So think about those things. Ask yourself, maybe tonight when you're laying in bed and you're drinking a cup of hot tea and, or Maybe in the morning, if you get up, happen to wake up 30 minutes early, you're not, see, again, you're not going to happen to wake up. You got to set an alarm. But if you wake up early and you're like, today is the day, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to read my Bible, I'm going to do some journaling. Ask yourself these questions, or even right after this call. What do you want to do with your life? Who do you want to be, and what do you want to have? Because these right here is the core dreams that you have. It is the foundation for why you show up and do what you do every single day. It is because somewhere deep inside you, you had a dream for blank, and you've pushed it down because you have to pay your electricity, because you have kids that are running all over the place, right? Because you want to earn this incentive over here that your company is offering. But do all of these things relate to who you want, what you want to do, who you want to be, and what you want to have? And I'm not saying to ignore your family. You guys know my passion is about this whole both, right? Building a business and being a present mom. But you have the time, period. I don't care. I don't care who you are watching this. You have the time. It might be only 15 minutes. It might be only, 1 hour, but you have the time. And if you are really, vulnerable and honest with yourself, you're going to see that you have more time. You have plenty of time because, maybe you're watching Netflix at night, or maybe that in between time when it's like the kids are home from school and, you're about to start making dinner and you're just tired, and you sit down on the couch, and the next thing you know, you've been watching reels for an hour. Okay. Like, you have the time. I'm telling you, you just have to be creative and find the time. So set goals in all areas of your life. Yes, I'm saying to set goals in all areas. And the reason why I'm saying this is because you need to have a vision that you can keep in front of you for why you're working towards what you're working towards, a reason to show up and get out of bed every single day. I tell people all the time, many of you know I'm walking through a divorce, and my girls I am the primary residence. Okay. So they're with me the majority of the time, but every other weekend they spend the weekend with their daddy. And in the beginning, I told people that if it wasn't for my dogs, to be honest, making me get up, take them out to the bathroom, who knows, maybe I would have just slept the weekend away, right? Maybe I would have become depressed, but they were right in front of me, right? The goals for my life, right, was like, hey, they were the reminder. Like, you need to get up. This is not who you are. Don't sleep the day away. Get busy, get moving, move your body. And because of that, I was able to, in my perspective, I think other people would maybe agree with me, I have been able to walk through this very hard season because I feel equipped based on all the discipline that has led up to this point. Right? I knew that my girls relied on me. I couldn't just, lay around, right? They are the reason why I do everything I do, but they're not the only reason why I do what I do, right? Because when they're not here and when they're adults and they're gone, what is my reason going to be then? Right? And so I want to encourage you to have some goals, put them in front of you outside of just your family. Like, what are some things that you want? And then when you look at that list, there's usually one goal. There's usually one, okay, that you need to focus on for that season or for that year that's going to help all of these other things come to pass. And that might sound a little crazy, but if you look at the list, usually everyone has, they want to make more money, they want to lose weight, they maybe have certain relationships in their life, which I could do a whole training on this, but certain relationships that they want to improve, just, different things, right? They want to study the Bible. Maybe they want to start a morning routine. They have all these things, and it's overwhelming when you look at all of these things. But usually, if you've heard that quote, what is it? When the tide comes in, all the ships rise, or something like that. I can't remember it, but you know what I'm trying to say. If you have this strategy where you are focused on one goal, organically and naturally, some of the other things will start to come to pass, because in order to achieve that one goal, you have to become a better version of yourself, which means some of these other things will start to happen. And then once you achieve that one goal, you can go to the next thing and just take the exact process that you took to achieve the previous goal and do it on the next one. Some of you have probably already experienced this. Maybe you've paid off a bunch of different credit cards. The Dave Ramsey approach is like focus on the biggest debt, the first one, or not the biggest debt, sorry, focus on the smallest debt, right? And then you work your way up, meaning you just are laser focused on one card. You're not overwhelmed. I mean, yes, be responsible, do what you got to do. I'm not a money management person, so please don't ask me questions. But my point is, you have to focus on one thing before you can move on to the next, right? Master the one first. And then what you'll need to do is to list out 20 things that need to happen in order for that goal to become your reality. Add them to your calendar and get to work. So maybe one of the things that you list out, maybe your goal is to promote to executive director this year. Well, in order to do that, maybe you need to have an onboarding system. And you keep saying, I need an onboarding system. And you didn't do one. So put it on your calendar. Say, all right, next week, that's what I'm working on. And you put it on your calendar and you show up, because if your goal is a priority, your actions will reflect it, period. All right. So to wrap up, you guys, look at this. 11/11, make a wish. Here we are. Your dreams will not happen overnight as a result of a vision board, meditation, or even treating God like he is a genie in a lamp. Let's be honest. We've been like, God, please, I just want to help me hit this, whatever. And sometimes he doesn't give us what we desire, what we're asking of him, because we have not become equipped. We have not become the person or the version that is ready to handle the responsibility that comes with that dream, that reality, right? And instead, your dreams become your reality when you make the decision to intentionally work every single day until they are one day your reality, right? It's not a matter of, we'll see if it happens. It's a decision you make. There is no timeline that will disrupt your decision. Yes, we can set goals and say, this month I want to do this. This year I want to do this, whatever, right? But if you don't hit that goal, does that mean you give up? No, you keep going until it becomes your reality. And then you help other people do the same. I love, love, love. Oh, hold on. Let me wrap up. I love this quote that I found by James Clear. The purpose of setting goals is to win the game. Okay, that's true, right? We want to win the game. We want to be number one. We want to hit the top. But the purpose of building systems is to continue playing the game. Woo! That got me when I saw that, because let's be honest, sometimes we're exhausted. Sometimes we are burnt out. Sometimes we do want to take our foot off the gas. But in order to continue to grow and evolve, it requires putting in systems. So to recap, the systems behind my success: marketing your business, number one; one-to-one connections, number two; number three, onboarding; number four, support and strategy; number five, leadership development; number six, multiply the multiplier; and number seven, goal setting and vision casting. I hope this was helpful to you guys. I believe in you. I know that this could be the year that changes everything for you and for your family. But don't let another day go by without making the decision that you are worth it, that you are willing to be disciplined enough to show up and do the work that is required, right? Because yes, can God change circumstances in the blink of an eye? Yes, he can. He can. But ultimately, right? I mean, there's all these, go look it up. Go look up all the scripture on money, the Proverbs, all the thing. It's like success. I mean, you think about the people who have overnight success, the athletes, the lottery winners, all of these people, they usually lose it or it's gone within a short amount of time. And I don't know about you, but my dream for my life is that I am creating and building out a life that my girls and their children can look back and say, because of, Becky, because of the generations before me, because of the actions that she took, I have the life I have today. I'm a step or two or three or four or 10 ahead of where she was. and I'm able to pursue this, and I'm able to do this, and I'm able to experience this because of the decision that she made to be disciplined and consistent and show up until her dreams became a reality. And I believe that for all of you. So I hope this was helpful. I hope that you feel inspired and excited after listening to this, because you guys, it is the first day of spring, even though it didn't feel like it here in Tennessee. I think it's the first day of spring. I feel like I saw that somewhere. And we are approaching the end of the first quarter, but there is still a ton of time for you to achieve some pretty incredible things this year, right? There really is. And so just be strategic, follow this system like it's a funnel, okay? And look at it and kind of go through each one and say, what is it that I can tweak that I'm already doing to improve upon? What are the things that I really need to let go of that I could maybe delegate? And what is the next system that you are going to work on? So drop it in the comments below. If you're watching on Facebook, I want to know, what are you going to work on first? And if you found this helpful, I want to encourage you to message somebody on your team that needs to join, or your business bestie needs to join the Kingdom Minded Mompreneur, and tell them, say, we just had this stellar training with Becky Baxter. She was an $8 million a year earner, and not earner, I wish, $8 million a year team, a leader in the industry. And she shared all of her secrets. You need to join. So we would appreciate it if you would pass this along, meaning I'll put the link for people to register in the comments. So if you can think of someone off the top of your head that needs to hear this training, send them an invite and the link to join, and we would greatly appreciate it. Bye, guys.
Thanks so much for listening to the Kingdom Minded Mompreneur. If you loved what you heard today, could you stop and give us a 5-star rating and review? It helps our visibility on podcasting platforms so others like you can hear more of this message.
Also, if this episode encouraged you, we would love for you to pass it along to your own biz bestie and anyone else who could benefit. Lastly, don't forget that if you want to hang out with us just a little bit more, join us inside the Kingdom Minded Mompreneur community. Click the link in the show notes. Bye for now.